There's a 23-year-old hidden detail in Attack of the Clones that uses brilliant visual storytelling that shows why the Jedi lost long before Order 66. And this detail connects to one of the most important scenes in the prequels, and that's when Dooku meets Obi-Wan on Geonosis. This right here is the day the Jedi died. Welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy, and let's talk about the most crucial scene in the prequel trilogy.
What if I told you that the Republic was now under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith?
Now, the scene with Dooku is only 163 seconds long, but everything about it represents the fundamental ideals of the Jedi in the prequels. But there is a brilliant visual storytelling tool that Lucas uses to amplify Dooku's words, and all of that happens on Coruscant. The entire world is designed to serve as a visual metaphor to the plot of the prequels and why the Jedi lost. But before we get into that, let's start with this Dooku scene.
Traitor.
Oh no, my friend. This is a mistake, a terrible mistake. They've gone too far. This is madness.
Now, of course, Dooku's clearly gaslighting Obi-Wan from the start, and they both know it. This is a duel, not with lightsabers, but with politics. And politics is a symbolic weapon that Palpatine uses in Attack of the Clones. It is the trap that will destroy the Jedi. But then the scene shifts when Dooku talks about Qui-Gon.
I wish she were still alive. I could use his help right now.
Qui-Gon is the emotional bridge between these two men. He was Obi-Wan's former master and Dooku's apprentice. So the idea that Dooku shares a bond with Qui-Gon makes his next words much more impactful.
He knew all about the corruption in the Senate, but he would never have gone along with it if he had learned the truth as I have.
Qui-Gon, much like Dooku, was unique among the other Jedi. He clashed with the Council and he distrusted the Senate.
Do not defy the Council, Master, not again.
I shall do what I must, Obi-Wan.
However, it's doubtful that Qui-Gon would have ever joined the Sith, but the next part is what it's all about.
What if I told you that the Republic was now under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith?
This is obviously a very from a certain point of view sort of truth, but it's still something that should have shattered everything Obi-Wan knew. The truth is right here.
Hundreds of senators are now under the influence of a Sith Lord called Darth Sidious.
The Senate's corruption, the Jedi's blindness, all of it allowed a Sith Lord to rise to power. But how does Obi-Wan react?
No, that's not possible. I don't believe you.
He denies it. He refuses to listen, to believe that the precious Republic may have been compromised. And worse, that the Jedi didn't see it happen. But let's look at how Lucas illustrates his ideas in this scene visually through Coruscant. And that is the hidden detail that we mentioned earlier. So let's talk about Coruscant.
Coruscant. The entire planet is one big city.
The movie opens with Padmé's entourage arriving on the planet. Now, in The Phantom Menace, Coruscant is first seen through Anakin's eyes, amplifying the world's vastness from the eyes of a slave who grew up on a measly desert planet. This is a testament to the greatness of the Republic and what it can achieve. However, in Attack of the Clones, the deceptive beauty of the planet is aggrandized with the mountain-sized towers that pierce the clouds. But those clouds symbolize an ominous veil that hides secrets buried beneath. And this idea comes back around in the end. With Padmé's attempted assassination, the illusion of peace is broken. Now, this not only establishes the political conflict of the film, but also exposes how unstable the system has become. A senator is almost killed at the very heart of the Republic, a place that is meant to be the safest in the galaxy. But, as we see in the next scene, the Jedi and the people running this government are desperately trying to cling to the illusion of stability, while the galaxy itself is about to be torn in half with civil war. And the person preaching for diplomacy the most is the Sith Lord who has orchestrated it all.
Ironic.
But here's the incredible visual detail. If we put this opening side by side with the Dooku scene, something really interesting happens. That whole arrival on Coruscant perfectly aligns with the parts where Dooku gaslights Obi-Wan. Much like Dooku, Coruscant's surface is a deceptive mask that shrouds the truth in darkness. When he mentions Qui-Gon, we see those gray clouds that cover everything, representing how there's a deeper, darker truth under the veil of lies. And the best part, the timing of Padmé's ship blowing up perfectly aligns with the moment that Dooku says,
The truth.
Now, I'm not sure if this was deliberate, or maybe we're reading into it too much, but what I think is happening here is that Lucas is telling us, visually, right from the start of the movie, that everything the Jedi know is a lie that is exposed by Dooku. Now, you guys know how much we love Star Wars here at the channel, and that's why we love designing Star Wars parody shirts for our merch store. We have so many of our favorites. There's Stay on Target, Prequel Apologist, Original Trilogy, Free Gorman, I Have Friends Everywhere,
Somehow Palpatine returned,
Rebel Scum, The Apprentice Libs, and so many more. Guys, shopping our merch store is the best way to directly support our channel, and we love designing these shirts for you. You can find all the links below, and if you become a member, you get free stuff. Thank you for your support. Now back to what I was saying. But the visual storytelling doesn't end there. The Senate building is located on the top level, right next to the Jedi Temple, establishing the idea that these two institutions are intertwined. And this is pivotal because of the next important visual detail. Coruscant's false exterior peels off in another visually crucial scene. In the chase scene, the sprawling dystopian world beneath is revealed. Coruscant is a behemoth of metal divided into countless levels built on top of each other, like the Tower of Babel. The lower levels look like the hellish city from Blade Runner. You could even say that it's more machine now than planet.
Twisted and evil.
The rich and powerful live on the upper crust while the criminals and the downtrodden are far below. The higher one rises, the easier it becomes to ignore the desperation, crime, and poverty that's far beneath. And when we first see Obi-Wan and Anakin in this movie, they rise to the top, ascending in an elevator to Padme's penthouse. And when they travel below, though, they have to literally plunge into the depths of the underworld because facing the truth is hard.
I don't believe you.
And this is why it's visually crucial that the Jedi Temple is on Coruscant. On the metal planet, the Jedi are unintentionally linked to the self-serving bureaucracy of the Republic. Now, the problem with the Jedi is illustrated in this Dooku scene. Obi-Wan is floating above, like the Jedi Temple. Dooku is below, representing that uncomfortable truth.
The dark side of the Force has clouded their vision, my friend.
Yeah, I know, it's a snake oil truth, but it's still a truth. But Obi-Wan is imprisoned, a metaphor for the Jedi being trapped, unable to face the truth below, because they are so attached to the Senate that serves above. So, how can they be expected to help slaves on Tatooine when they're blind to what is happening right under their feet?
Jedi business. Go back to your drinks.
What do you mean by that? Well, remember, the Jedi didn't help Shmi and the other slaves on Tatooine because it's way in the Outer Rim, on a planet that is outside of the Republic's jurisdiction.
The Republic's anti-slavery laws are...
The Republic doesn't exist out here.
Tatooine is in Hutt territory, which means that if the Jedi get too involved, they will create a conflict between the Republic and the Space Mafia, which means that the Jedi didn't save Anakin's mother because of politics.
And I slaughtered them like animals.
Well, I don't think it's quite fair to condemn a whole program because of a single slip-up, sir.
So maybe the point here that Lucas is making with Coruscant is that on the metal planet, the Jedi and the Republic lost a part of their soul and traditions that made them great long ago. After all, the Jedi Temple is built on top of a Sith shrine. And ultimately, the Jedi Temple becomes Palpatine's Imperial Palace. This is the ultimate sign of the Sith's subjugation of the Republic and the destruction of the Jedi. So maybe the Jedi Temple should have been located on some secluded world filled with nature, somewhere where the Jedi can be more attuned with the Force. And yes, I know.
That's not how the Force works.
And the Force isn't just nature, it's everywhere.
Its energy surrounds us.
But my meaning is that maybe by being less attached to the Senate, far away from the political cesspool, they could hold the Republic accountable, protecting and serving the people rather than far above them. Now, we actually see this in the High Republic books. In those books, the Jedi are completely separate from the Republic.
This is Jedi.
This is what
Jedi
it's supposed to be.
When the Republic decides to fight space pirates, the Jedi hold a separate vote on whether or not they are going to add their forces to the Republic's. Compare this to the prequels when the Senate votes on whether or not the Jedi will go to war. And the show The Acolyte was showing this transition, with the Senate pushing for greater oversight over the Jedi Council.
I think the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power, posing as a religion, a delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable.
There are many reasons that led to the Jedi downfall. The great tragedy of the Jedi in the prequels is how the sum of all their choices culminates with this one bad day. For this, we need to explain why Dooku left the Order.
He was one of the most brilliant Jedi I've had the privilege of knowing.
I never understood why he quit.
Well, one might say he was always a bit out of step with the decisions of the Council.
Dooku is a former Jedi who lost faith in the Order, deliberately paralleling Anakin, who's actively losing faith in the Jedi throughout this trilogy. Now, we hear a lot about Dooku until we finally see him. This doesn't happen, though, until the hour and 16-minute mark of the movie. Like Coruscant, Dooku's true motivations are revealed gradually. He's left the Order, but at first, it's unclear if he's a Sith because the other Jedi speak of him with respect and even admiration.
You know, milady, Count Dooku was once a Jedi. He couldn't assassinate anyone. It's not in his character.
So again, there's this motif of slowly unveiling the deeper truth. He is the leader of the Separatist Alliance, a coalition that declares independence from the Republic, paralleling how Dooku separated himself from the Order. Dooku could not ignore the corruption in the Senate and how it was leading the Republic to its downfall. And worse, he blamed the Jedi for their attachment to the Senate, believing that the Order became too lenient and blind to the Senate's failings, which in his eyes made the Jedi culpable.
Our allegiance is to the Senate.
No. We serve the people of this republic.
That whole section in The Phantom Menace makes a point of how awful and ineffective the Senate has become. Instead of just helping the people in Naboo, they had to form a commission.
Into the bureaucrats, the true rulers of the republic.
And this is mostly because of Palpatine and the Sith Grand Plan. They weaponized politics to sabotage the Republic from within, which set the stage for the Clone Wars, which of course brings about the end of the Jedi Order.
The Sith control everything. You just don't know it.
The Jedi believed the Sith were long gone, even denying their return once or twice. The Republic enjoyed an era of peace that lasted 1,000 years. So this allowed the Jedi to maintain peace through diplomacy.
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
All of this is perfectly fine, but only in theory. Yes, the Jedi do a lot of good, but they became too integrated into politics, and yet they were afraid to steer the Republic back on the right track. But the galaxy is a very complicated ecosystem with countless different cultures and values. This makes the Jedi the perfect moral authority because they embody all these cultures, but they're also empowered by the Force, the personification of good in the galaxy. Now that's not to say that the Jedi should rule the Republic themselves.
The trouble is that people don't always agree.
Well, then they should be made to.
They were pure and good. They wanted to cling to the idea that this is enough to inspire the Republic, but clearly it wasn't. The Jedi are the moral beings of the galaxy, but they chose to be loyal to a bunch of politicians who had lost their moral compass. They want to be an integral part of the Republic and yet do nothing that will jeopardize their precious codes.
What happens to one of you will affect the other. You must understand this.
And that is the core of the problem. If those who are meant to defend democracy aren't vigilant and not taking care of protecting it, then they will open the door to somebody like Sheev Palpatine.
With thunderous applause.
It wasn't that the Jedi were out of touch. They became out of sync with the Republic. The 1,000 years of peace and success made them too stagnant and overconfident. They became arrogant, the Sith were long gone, and the Republic is everlasting. The Order just needs to stay the same. Even Yoda admits this.
Too sure of themselves they are. Even the older, more experienced ones.
Although I'm not sure if Yoda was speaking for himself here. See, Yoda and the others were still convinced in their ways, even with everything around them crumbling. It's only in Revenge of the Sith that Yoda finally admits,
Failed, I have.
Obviously, the strict Jedi Code is crucial, and we see many times why it's so important for the Jedi to have control over their emotions. However, the Jedi became too dependent on what they believed to be true, rather than using the Force to guide their wisdom.
I should think that you Jedi would have more respect for the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
And this is why Qui-Gon was seen as such a controversial member, despite the fact that he was basically the ideal Jedi.
Concentrate on the moment. Feel. Don't think. Use your instincts.
But remember, the Jedi are guided by the Force, the cosmic energy that holds everything together and also puts all life forms on a predestined path. So they were trusting the Force to lead them on the correct path. Now that predestination philosophy can be very dangerous, especially to Jedi like Anakin. And I'm pretty sure that Dooku was also convinced that the Force was guiding him. However, the enveloping dark side clouded everything, particularly the Jedi's vision and possibly their connection to the Force.
I think it is time we inform the Senate that our ability to use the Force is diminished.
So to overcompensate for their blindness, they put their faith in the Republic and their code. This goes back to Coruscant. The temple stands right next to the Senate building, which is controlled by Palpatine.
I am the Senate.
So it's as if his darkness is emitting with such evil force that it shrouds the Jedi in darkness. But still, they try to wade through that darkness, blind to what's right there next door. All of this boils down to this scene.
The dark side of the Force has clouded their vision, my friend. Hundreds of senators are now under the influence of a Sith Lord.
This moment represents the final point of no return for the Jedi, their last chance to see through the fog of lies and uncover the Sith plot. Yes, the board was already set before the Clone Wars, the Senate was broken, and the Republic was fracturing, but it's not too late to save the people that the Jedi swore to protect. And then here's Dooku, once considered to be a great Jedi, and he's laying it all down for Obi-Wan, exposing the Sith plot. He is confirming things that the Jedi already suspected. He's even willing to unmask Palpatine. This is their chance to take action to stop the Sith.
You must join me, Obi-Wan. And together, we will destroy the Sith.
Even if Dooku is a Sith, and even if what most of he says is a manipulation, there's enough here to make the Jedi start asking some questions. They don't even try to understand why he lost faith in the Order, a blindness that prevents them from seeing Anakin's fall. But Obi-Wan is also pretty wise.
Hello there.
So at the very least, he could have used Dooku to the Jedi's advantage. Maybe trick him into exposing Sidious, uncover what the Sith are planning, and even turn Dooku against his master. Order 66 could still be avoided, since if the Jedi know that Palpatine is a Sith Lord, then they have reason to suspect the clones. After all, Order 66 was such a brilliant move because the Jedi trusted the clones. And of course, Anakin's fall could have been stopped, since I believe he wouldn't be so easily manipulated back in Attack of the Clones.
I don't believe you.
The Jedi don't believe Dooku, and instead they plunge straight into the Clone Wars, becoming pawns, just like the droids and the clones, dancing to Palpatine's song. The Jedi are incapable of acting on any of this, because if the Republic is indeed broken and the Sith are manipulating everything, then that means that the Jedi will have to take action against the Senate. To cleanse Palpatine's influence and destroy the Sith, they will have to take control over the government so that they can steer the Republic back from the brink. Maybe even take power for a very short time to allow the good senators to seize the chance that will heal the Senate.
The Jedi Council would have to take control of the Senate in order to secure a peaceful transition.
To a dark place this line of thought will carry us.
The time for half measures and talk is over.
But they can't do something so drastic because this will be
A path to the dark side.
Even if this action will stop the war, prevent a massive loss of life, and save the galaxy from the Sith. This is why Obi-Wan rejects everything that Dooku says, a denial that continues even after begun the Clone Wars has and Dooku is exposed as a Sith.
Lies, deceit, creating mistrust are his ways now.
Yoda says they will keep an eye on old Palpatine, but they don't act on it until Anakin literally tells Mace,
"Somehow Palpatine returned."
Sorry, I meant this.
I think Chancellor Palpatine is a Sith Lord.
When Padme accused Dooku of her attempted assassination, the Jedi Masters refute her claims.
He is a political idealist, not a murderer.
You know, milady, Count Dooku was once a Jedi. He couldn't assassinate anyone. It's not in his character.
And this is ironic, since the same thing happens when Qui-Gon reports about Maul and the Sith.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
I do not believe the Sith could have returned without us knowing.
And even after they discovered that Maul was a Sith, they didn't really investigate anything for a decade.
I've been warning them about the coming darkness for years, never to be taken seriously.
And, to make matters worse, they conveniently ignored the suspicious creation of a clone army and the timing of its reveal.
Convenient.
And let's not forget about the part where they discovered that the Sith created the clones, but they just cover it up.
Cover up this discovery. We must.
Even when it was clear that there was something very wrong with the clones. But what did you expect? These are the guys who denied the existence of planets simply because...
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
And what makes the Dooku scene so much more ironic is that the next scene is Jar Jar giving Palpatine emergency power.
I love democracy.
And the Jedi? Well, they're just following orders, like the droids and the clones. Yoda and Mace stand on the outskirts of the Senate, looking in, unable to make a change.
It is done then.
Once again, they're on a higher level, oblivious of the truth that is right there below, blind to the fact that Palpatine is actually declaring the death of the Republic and the Jedi.
With thunderous applause.
And the first battle in the Clone Wars happens on Geonosis, yet another planet with strong visual symbolism. It is a red, stark planet, almost like an evil analog to Tatooine. The red and the dark orange symbolize the Sith. Now, desert planets in Star Wars usually serve as the start of the journey for the heroes of each trilogy, a planet they must leave to discover their destiny and become a great Jedi.
Like my father before me.
But Geonosis is a subversion of that by becoming the world where the Jedi will die. Not literally, that happens later, but metaphorically. This is where the Clone Wars start and where the Jedi officially abandon their peacekeeping ways and fall into the chaos of war. This continues this movie's theme of inversion. Remember, the opening crawl actually tilts up to a planet instead of down, showing how everything in this movie is flipped on its end.
The shroud of the dark side has fallen, begun. The Clone War has.
And once they're committed to this path, they are trapped by Palpatine's perfect plan. They have no options at that point but to follow the path that leads to their doom. And so it's fitting that Dooku's final scene of the movie takes us back to Coruscant where he meets Palpatine. Now this is a full circle moment. At the start, Coruscant is covered with the fog of clouds, but by the end, the world is seen clearly. However, a red-orange glow covers the whole world, making it feel like hell. Very similar to Geonosis, symbolizing that with the start of the Clone Wars, even the gleaming illusion of Coruscant cannot contain the shroud of darkness that has been festering right at the heart of the Republic. This is right under the Jedi's gaze, the place where the Jedi will die in more ways than one. And it's a sign that the Sith have already won.
The war has begun.
Excellent. Everything is going as planned.
And this is why this crucial Dooku scene represents the day the Jedi died. A day that opens with Anakin burying his mother after he commits atrocities, starting his inevitable fall to the dark side. This is a day that ends with the Jedi leading the charge in the first battle of the Clone Wars, and from there there's a chain reaction that leads to the inevitable destruction of the Jedi Order. The Jedi lose themselves in the war, forsaking their monk-like ways to become soldiers and generals. Many Jedi even became disillusioned with the Order and fell to the dark side. We see this in the Clone Wars series with Jedi like Pong Krell.
An army fighting for the dark side, fallen from the light that we once held so dear. This Republic is failing!
And in between these monumental events, there is this scene with Dooku, which serves as a pivotal moment where the fate of the galaxy is sealed.
I will never join you, Dooku.
It may be difficult to secure your release.
And it's symbolic that only once their temple is in flames, the surviving Jedi finally leave the metal world and disengage themselves from this broken system. It's way too late by that point, but at least the era after Order 66 allowed the Jedi to evolve into something better, only for that new Jedi Order and new Republic to be destroyed again, so something even better can rise from those recycled ashes.
Good job.
So, what do you think the Jedi could have done after that Dooku scene? Was there a way to stop Order 66, or were the Jedi destined to die and start again? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, or at me on Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, or on our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.